Get social with us. Follow us on Instagram at Goodtaste TV. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Good Taste for the Soul. I'm Tangi Patton. If you're a fan of delicious Mexican food, you're going to love my next guest and all her family's restaurants. Diana Barrios Trevino and her entire family are truly culinary icons in San Antonio. Their three restaurants are known for juicy, sizzling fajitas, massive lip-smacking margaritas, and award-winning, over-the-top puffy tacos. Some of you may remember her puffy taco throwdown with Bobby Flay. I assure you Bobby Flay remembers because Diana beat him. And no doubt former President Barack Obama remembers those puffy tacos too, because Diana served him some at a congressional picnic that was held on the White House grounds. Diana and I have been friends for more than 25 years, and I've seen how she and her family have not only embraced tremendous success in the culinary world, but they've also experienced unbelievable heartache and unimaginable tragedy with a courage and dignity that, frankly, you rarely see. Their story is truly an inspiration, and I wanted to share it with all of you, those of you who haven't heard it. Diana, very excited to welcome you to the show. Diana, I'm so excited to have you on one of our very first Good Taste for the Soul podcast. You and I have known each other a long time.
A long time, and I'm so excited, and I'm so proud of you, what you have done. It's what you have accomplished, Tangi. Wow. You know what? I'm so excited that I get to be a part of it. Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm just thrilled that you are too. So thank you. And we're doing something kind of fun and different because you and I have shared many birthday celebrations together, and we popped the cork on a bottle of wine or two. So I thought, and sometimes champagne, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's a little bubbly. Yes, that's true.
So today I thought it'd be kind of fun. I've never done this with a podcast guest before, but I thought we'd share a bottle of wine, in our two different locations. And so what I did, there's a wine I featured on our TV show. I don't know, it's probably been 3 or 4 years ago, but I've always loved it. And it's still wonderful. And I know you're a cab girl.
So I am. You know me well.
So anyway, for those who are listening, who are cab fans, it's a domestic. It's Napa, Buena Vista. Chateau Buena Vista, Napa Valley. It's their cab. It's always a good wine. And if I recall, it's in that $40 price range. Like everything, prices have gone up, but this really is a fun bottle of wine. So you've had a rough morning. So pop the cork.
To say the least. But they're always like that.
Welcome to the real world, right?
That's right. So
I may just leave the cork off. We'll just have it sitting over there and have it ready. So tell me what you think. It's always been a good wine. Now, I haven't tried this vintage.
Okay, well, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, yes.
I like it.
My friends who are listening to this, highly recommend from this cat girl.
And this is not a sponsored wine, by the way. This is strictly just one that I've always loved. And oh, good. I'm glad you like it too.
It's delicious. Wow.
Oh, and
this podcast is going to be very interesting. I'm drinking wine.
And I understand I need to get you another Good Taste glass. My husband told me you broke the glass.
Oh, gosh. It was one of those crazy days. And somehow 3 glasses of wine broke. But my favorite one, my Good Taste with Tangi glass, from when you first started Good Taste with Tangi, it broke. And I was very sad.
Oh,
I was like, can I put it together again and roll it?
No, I can replace that. We'll get you another one. It's very easy.
That
very easy.
Thank you. Well, the wine is great.
Oh, good. I like it too. So Los Barrios. Oh my gosh. What a legend for folks in the San Antonio area. The entire family is iconic. And you guys are celebrating a big one right now. What, 45 years?
Yes, Los Barrios is 45 years old. I can't believe it because it feels like it just flew. But it didn't.
It didn't. No, that's crazy. Well, I tell you, when I know time is flying, you and I knew each other when our kids were little, right?
That's
right.
And
now they're all adults. So it's
it's really hard for me to say that I have a 34-year-old because I think I'm 34, at least in my heart and in my head. I wouldn't be 34. No, but it's really actually a lot of fun having I have three sons. We have three boys, and 34, about to be 30, and 25, and they're great young men. They've turned out, hey, we did something all right because they kind of turned
Yeah,
out okay, and we're very
they're
very
alive.
proud of them. Very proud of them.
Yeah.
Yes, they're alive. Well, the one thing with boys, as you very well know this, um, they eat a lot. They're always hungry, and there's never enough food. And so, fortunately for us, they were always there, ready to taste anything new at the restaurant, or we would just say, "Hey, we're here at the restaurant. Go order whatever you want. You can have whatever you want." And so that was, that's just the fun
Oh,
of
yeah, that
being a
came in
mom of
handy.
boys.
That came in handy. Well, it is an awesome restaurant, and it has such a fabulous story, and it all goes back to your beautiful mother.
My beautiful mother, yes. So Los Barrios started in 1979 in an old boat garage in downtown San Antonio, around the corner from the Museum of Art. It was not a fancy place. There was not much parking, and the landlord lived next door. But my mom did this about 4 years after my father died. Our father died in a car accident on Labor Day, Monday, 1975, September the 1st.
Hmm.
And while my father was, the main breadwinner of the family, we suffered a tremendous loss. Not only the loss of our dad, um, but also the loss of income. My father was in Spanish radio, Spanish TV, Spanish newspaper. At the end of his life, he was in Spanish radio at Queda when it was called La Tejanita. And he did, back in the 70s, you did every job, and he did every job and was beloved in his community and was very good at what he did, and was amazing at what he did. And so it was a tremendous loss for us. But I'm going to back up a little bit. Our parents met in the mid 50s at La Prensa, which was back then a daily
Oh, yeah,
Spanish newspaper. And my
yeah.
father was the sports editor. My mother was the secretary. That's where they met. They fell in love. They got married, and they had three beautiful children, and I'm the baby. But it was a beautiful, beautiful love story that they had, and Los Barrios is part of that love story, because I guess it was in 1972, my mother asked my father to buy her this little restaurant. By then, I had gone to school. She had been a stay-at-home mom before that with the three of us, with my sister Teresa, Louie, and myself. And she said to my father she wanted this little restaurant. And he said, "Your cooking is great, but what do you know about the restaurant business?" And her parents had, in Mexico, because my mother was from Bustamante, Nuevo León, they had a little, they ran this hotel, much like a little bed and breakfast. And that's where my mother got a taste of the restaurant bug. And so, anyway, move forward to 1972. She asked my father for this restaurant. He says, "Okay, I'm gonna help. I'm gonna do this for you, because I don't ever want you to say I didn't give you everything you always asked me." And so he bought her that restaurant, and that was in 72, and he died in 75. And later, my mother would say um, that she had no idea how God prepared her for life without my father. But that little restaurant is what became our livelihood. So here we are.
How about
And now I have
that?
to have a glass of wine. I mean, a sip of wine. Oh, I could have the whole glass, I guess.
Can't let you sip alone.
Thank you. So my mom sold that little restaurant that my father had bought for her a couple years later, because she wanted to be home with us. So she sold the restaurant and she went to school. She went to real estate school. Now, the
Oh, I didn't.
class was given in Spanish, but the test was only given in English. And only one person in her class passed that test. She couldn't, because, our parents raised us bilingually and biculturally. And so for that, my siblings and I are eternally grateful to our parents, because it's opened many doors for us. Um, but my mom's English, well, it suffered a little bit. And, she could speak it. She had a very heavy accent, and she would be very nervous sometimes because she didn't want to offend any. Because my mom would say something like, "Oh, I went uh, when my brother would take her with his family to the coast. She would come back with a nice tan." My mother loved being by the water. And they would say, "Oh, Mrs. Barrios, oh, Viola, you have a nice tan. Where have you been?" And she'd say, "I was at the beach." But when she said it with her accent, it sounded like a bad word. So that's why she was really hesitant about, speaking a lot of English. But that's okay. She was able to communicate with her guests through her food and through her beautiful spirit, her kind, beautiful hospitality that she showed everyone as they walked in the doors of our family's restaurants. And so when she couldn't pass that real estate exam because she just honestly couldn't understand it in English, she got cheated in two business ventures after my father died. And one of them was this small white tablecloth South American style restaurant that was way before its time. The food was great, but maitre d' there overheard her business partners trying to way to swindle the widow out of her money. Well, long story short, they went to court. She won. They didn't have the money to pay her back. And so that restaurant shut down. But that maitre d' approached her several months later, Francisco Rodriguez, affectionately known as Paco or Mr. Rodriguez or Frank or Jefe. He had a lot of nicknames. He became our business partner because he said to my mother, "Why don't we go into business together?" And although my mother did not want to get cheated again, she said, "Okay, I'll do this because I know that I need to support my family. But I'm only willing to invest $3,000. It wasn't her last $3,000, but she didn't want to take any more chances.
No,
And
with three
so
kids.
with $3,000 and his investment, they opened up Los Barrios in their old boat garage. Nothing fancy, nothing matched, no matching tables, no matching chairs, no matching plates, no matching silverware. But like my brother Louis says, when the food is good, there's forgiveness and everything else. And people were very forgiving, and it was standing room only after 3 weeks. Well, my mom, having just finished real estate school, signed a 6-month lease. She didn't want to be stuck in. So she learned a lot. And so the landlord happened to live next door. And Tangi, I'm going to tell you that today, that area of Avenue B and Jones is a hot happening spot. 45 years ago, it was okay.
Not so much.
People found us, but it's not like it is today because now you have Elsewhere right there and all those really cool spots by the Pearl. And so anyway, when the 6-month lease came up, the landlord came up to my mother and said, "Senora, I have to go up on the rent." And she said, "Okay, how much?" And he said, "I'm going from $500 a month to $1,500 a month." He tripled the rent on her. She paid the higher rent for 2 more months while she sent friends and family looking for a place that she could own. She wanted to buy her own property. She loved her real estate. And so my aunt found her the location where Los Barrios is today. So if you come to Los Barrios, and I hope all of you do come see us.
You should.
We're on Blanco Road, south of Bassi. My mom bought an old Dairy. And you know what? Remnants of that old Dairy Queen are still there. If you walk into the restaurant, we've expanded, probably 5 times over the years. But here we are celebrating our 45th anniversary, and we've expanded and expanded and expanded and expanded. And if you walk in, you can still, if you look around, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll see the Dairy Queen. You just
tell.
gotta
You can
know
find little markings of it. And what a success story it became. And everyone did love your mom. She had something about her. Knocked my mic. Sorry. She had something about her. Was it a twinkle in the eye? You know how some people literally, you don't have to see the smile on their face to know their eyes are smiling.
Her mantra was fe, amor y alegría. Faith, love, and joy. And that's how she lived her life.
Yeah, she certainly did. She never met a stranger. I just remember she was the most warm, wonderful, lovely.
And if she met a stranger, she'd try to feed them right away.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. We ran into a friend we had not seen in forever since he was a little boy. And there was a very special bond between he and my mom and his siblings because our mom help these children when they were young. Well, this young man became a very successful business owner, contractor. And so when my mother heard this, she said, "Oh, I need you to come do some work at my house." I said, "Mom, I think he does like big projects." And he said, "No, no, 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 I will come." So he went to her house like the next day or 2 days later. And he said, "Tiana, I got to the door, I knocked, she let me in, and she showed me what she wanted done. And she said, 'But have you had breakfast yet?' And he said, 'Oh, yes, sí, señora. Yes, I have had breakfast.' She's like, 'Sit down. I'm going to feed you anyway.'" So she made him our favorite breakfast that she would make for us. And she made it for him. And he was just like, wow. As he goes, "I'm glad I had a little breakfast because, oh my gosh, that was like, it was just home cooking at its best." And that's how we do things at Los Barrios, because that's how she taught us. Casero style cooking the way Mexican mothers cook in their homes on a daily basis for their families every single day. That's what we
And
did.
she was, you all, as you guys became adults and got involved in the business, she still stayed very involved. And because of your success, you had an incredibly successful cookbook, and you've been on numerous national programs. I always remembered the throwdown. Was it a puffy taco throwdown with Bobby
Yes,
Flay?
yes.
Your mom was integrally involved in that.
Well, it was the cutest thing. And honestly, he has told me several times that that was his favorite throwdown. And he loved my
Oh,
mom. And the reason it was his favorite throwdown is because in the middle of it all, first of all, yes, they do surprise you, although they weren't very good at it because we kind of figured out what it was, but it didn't matter. It was so much fun. And we filmed this out at La Hacienda de los Barrios, our second location, and out on the beautiful patio underneath the giant canopy of oak
yeah,
trees.
that patio is amazing.
It's so fun and it's so beautiful. So there we are we each have our own stations. And so, well, obviously we were set up already because we were supposedly taping a segment for this show called North of the Border. And I was going to be doing the show by myself. I'm like, me on the food by myself. I'm like, isn't there going to be somebody there with me? And they're like, "Oh no, you're going to do this by yourself." I was like, okay, clue number one. I don't think so. But thank you for kind of making me feel good about that, right? And so we were all ready. The whole entire family was there. My mom, my sister, my brother, my husband, our children, lots of friends. And, of course, he shows up. And I guess it had been about 7 years prior to our throwdown that we had filmed another show here in San Antonio. It was called Food Nation. And we showed him what a puppy taco was. And he said, "Okay, this is by far my most favorite thing that I've learned in my trip here to San Antonio. This is so cool." And so, over the years, he'd ask questions about it, and I think he tried with it, making it. And so, of course, we get to the throwdown, and he's got his station. They quickly, set up a station for him, and we're already prepped. And so we are sitting making our team, my mom, our our chef that was with us, Lucio Villegas, and my husband, and we had some other help there. And we're all we're all doing our stuff. And my mom's just kind of looking over at his table, and she just keeps looking, and she just keeps and saying things under her breath and looking. And my sister says, "Mom," because she sees my mother walking around. She goes, "Mom, where are you going?" And she said, "I've got to go help him. Están haciendo un mugrero. They're making a mess." And my mom
Your
said,
competition.
"Mom, you're on our team." "I know, but I can't let them. I'm going to go show them how to do it. Let me go help them because, you're supposed to be nice to people, and I want to be nice to them. I want to show them our hospitality." And that's how she won over Bobby Flay's heart, because she went over there and she started helping them make puppy tacos. And it was the cutest, sweetest, kindest, most amazing day ever. Because, okay, full disclosure, you can still Google or YouTube the puppy taco throwdown with Bobby Flay, but I will let you know that yes, we did win. We
Yes.
won, but he was a good sport about it, and he said, it was okay to lose because he lost to Deanna and to Viola. I think he was more, he was a little bit just taken by my mother and our mom and her kindness and how she extended her hospitality to him in our house at our restaurant, and he just loved it. He just loved it. It was fun. It was fun.
It really was.
The puppy tacos were absolutely delicious. I'm sorry I
Yes.
interrupted.
No, I just, it was a beautiful gesture because, as you said, he was your competition on national TV.
Yes. And I will tell you that the best thing after it aired, because it aired, I mean, that show aired hundreds of times. And at first they'll let you know how many times it's going to air or when it's going to air. And then they just keep on playing it over and over and over again. And they were playing it on multiple channels, on not only on the Food Network, but on their website and also on the cooking channel. People would send me a text message, you're on, or they'd send somebody, my husband or my brother or my sister, you guys are on, you're on. And oh my gosh, you'd see all these people show up. We want to have the puppy tacos that we saw. And then they're like, wow, so what did Bobby's taste like? And we're like, well, so I will say this. The chicken that he made for the puppy tacos was out of this world for his puppy tacos, but it's nothing you'll ever see in ours. I mean, he had like peanuts and cabbage and the chicken was beautifully done. And
did you ever ask him for the recipe?
He gave us, he provided the recipe because we both had to provide recipes, and it was on the Food Network website. But it was like, I'm just gonna jokingly say it was probably 100 ingredients in his recipe, and ours was just very simple because that's how we do it, right? But it was delicious. It just didn't belong in a puppy taco. It was kind of like this delicious chicken with an Asian slaw. It was great. It was great, but not in a puppy taco.
Well, it's such a beautiful story because everything about your mom was so beautiful. And for a lot of people listening, they may not realize or understand she had a very her life ended way too soon.
Yes. Our mom worked tirelessly, selflessly every single day of her life after my father died because she missed him so much. And that was her way. People often say Viola never remarried. She didn't marry a man. She did remarry. She married a restaurant. And that restaurant is Los Barrios. And that's what makes it so special. I'm sorry I get emotional because, it was our mom. But
of course. And I think what stood out, her death made headlines. Are you comfortable talking about it? We don't have to.
No. Yes.
We really don't. She was murdered, a home invasion, robbery. And it stunned everyone.
By her 18-year-old neighbor, whose parents were my mother's friends.
It's just hard to fathom. And at the time, it really was something that stunned the entire city. It was just horrific in so many ways. And what came out of that, and that's what I kind of want to focus on, because you all you offered to pay his legal defense. And I think for some people, most of us would be thinking, put him away, lock him away for life. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And I think what people didn't understand was it was in the spirit of forgiveness that we did that. And actually my brother did that. He just kind of came right out and said it because, well, first of all, our family in the restaurant, with the restaurant behind us, we knew a lot of people. We know a lot of people. People come and eat at our restaurant. I mean, it's been 45 years. We've run across a lot of people, and it was hard for, I guess, his family to get some sort of defense, and that's what we learned. I learned about after the fact, because my brother shared that later with us. But it was a conflict of interest. We couldn't do it. We didn't do it. And it's not that we wanted him to be let off the hook. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. He needed to pay for his consequences. But at the end of the day, he is in jail for the rest of his life. And it's just so sad because our mother was taken tragically. But we do not focus on the last 10 seconds of her life. we focus on the rest of her life because she was so benevolent and so kind and so giving and so such a great person to go talk to and ask for advice. And I mean, she was just a beautiful, beautiful spirit. And she lived her life with joy and love. And her, people tell you, do not put all your eggs in one basket. That's not a good idea. Well, it's not a good idea unless you're Viola Barrios because of her basket that she chose. My mother's basket was her faith. And that's the spiritual diet that our mom fed us on a daily basis. And that's why people were very shocked and very upset that we were so forgiving, but that's what we had to do because that's what we were taught. And, when our father died, we were young and scared, and my mom spent the rest of her life preparing us, her children, for the day that she wouldn't be there. And that's how she did it, with her faith. And, standing outside, I was the one that ended up getting the phone call that something was happening at her house, that her house was on fire. And couldn't get in touch with my brother, and I couldn't get in touch with my sister. And mind you, this was early in the morning. Well, I'm not going to say super early, but it was about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. And so my husband was on the other side of town, and I just ran out the door, and I got to my mother's house and saw all these, a ton of police, the tape, the barrier tape, the news cameras. Everybody was already there before we even got there. And when I got there, it took a while, but finally my brother called, and I put him on the phone, and that's when they started asking us, did your mother live with somebody? Do you know where she's at? Could she be gone? And she had a standing reservation because in the restaurant business, you need a massage once a week because you get really tired. And so our mom had a standing appointment, and usually it was on Fridays, but this happened to be a Thursday. And we thought, well, maybe she's had her massage appointment. But as it turned out, that wasn't the case. And so he shot her with the bow and arrow in her head, and she died instantly. But he came back, he took off in my mother's car, and it's all on video. And he went and bought a can of gasoline and came back and doused her and lit the house on fire. He shut the door to her room, so that fire extinguished rather quickly, but it still created something. And that's how they were able to find that there was a fire going on. But, standing outside of my mother's house before my brother and sister and my husband arrived, as you can imagine, complete shock, disbelief, cannot believe this is happening to us, to our family, just blown away. And all of a sudden, I just felt my ear. It was like, oh my God, my ear hurts. But I wasn't paying attention to my ear. But the pain kept getting harder and harder and harder. And it was like really starting to bother me. And I was like, I finally stopped and like, what is going on with my ear? And I promise you, this is exactly what I heard. Heard it in Spanish, and I'll translate it in English. Perdónalo porque no sabía lo que hacía. Forgive him because he didn't know what he did. No te enojes. Do not get mad. No hagas coraje. Do not get enraged. No guardes rencor. Do not hold a grudge. Do not hold a grudge. La venganza es de Dios. Vengeance is of the Lord. When I stopped and paid attention to my ear and I heard all of that, I was like blown away. And the next minute, no more earache. My ear did not hurt anymore. And that's the message I got.
I don't think you'd ever told me that before.
It took a while for me to realize. I had to stop and think, what was that? And so I made a mental note of it because it was something very important. And I shared it with our family and the children and the grandchildren. Mom had 8 grandchildren. My brother has 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. My sister has 2 daughters, and we have the 3 sons. And so, it was important that they know that. And the forgiveness was very important for our family because that's how our mom raised us. She never liked to hold a grudge. She didn't like people being mad at each other or anything like that. And she believed in forgiveness. And she told us that many, many, many times. And so that forgiveness was something that our children needed to see so that they wouldn't spend the rest of their lives feeling that that bitterness, that unforgiveness can only breed, because that's what's going to happen. If you're not forgiving, it's just not good. It's going to eat you up like a cancer does. And we did not want that for our children. Our children were young. My nephew, Ian, I think was 7 or 8 years old when our mom died. And so the oldest grandchild, Annalie, was a senior in high school. She was 18. And so there they were. That was the age gap. And so our children were still very vulnerable. And, the last thing you want to do is teach them a bad lesson that, they were still young enough to absorb it and to practice it. And that's what we want them to practice the rest of their lives. That's exactly what our mom would have expected of us, and for the kids, the grandchildren.
Well, she leaves behind an absolutely beautiful legacy. And it's also something to see now at Los Barrios. The
Yes.
original is the beautiful mural
Yeah.
done in her honor, right?
Yes, to commemorate our 45th anniversary, we knew we needed to do something. And my son Jordan, said, "Gosh, I really want a mural. I want something that when people see it, they'll go, there at Los Barrios. That's at Los Barrios." And so we found this artist. We sat and visited with her. She saw a lot of our family pictures of our mom, of our parents. And she came up with, she said, "I want to do a tree of life, of Viola's life." That's what she did. It's so pretty.
Beautiful.
It is
It's
beautiful.
beautiful. The colors, red is an interesting color because there's so many variations of it, right? You can be really dark red and serious, or
right.
I just think everything that artist did, she captured it so well, and just the spirit and life, and the vivaciousness and joy, really, of Viola.
Yeah. She painted this gigantous mural, and I invite everybody to come see it because it'll take your breath away the minute you walk in. She did it in like 2.5 weeks, Tangi. And oh my gosh, it was amazing watching her work. But she would wear those noise canceling headphones so she could listen to music and not listen to the noise of the restaurant, because the restaurant was still, in operation.
Well, and the restaurant's busy all the time. So.
And so she would sit there and she'd be painting. And she said people would come up and they'd tap her shoulder and she'd say, "Yes." And they'd say, "You're doing such a beautiful job." And then they'd share a story of our mom. Viola did this and Viola did that. And Viola brought my mom, when my mom was really sick, Viola made her this cake that she made, that she would always make. And she would gift it to lots of people. And my mom was really sick, and Viola, she brought us dinner and she made this cake. And so stories like that over and over and over again. And Ana Hernandez is the artist. We found her through an arte gallery here in San Antonio.
Oh.
And Ana, the artist, said, every time I heard a different story, she says, I really feel like it just gave the mural more life, because like you said, it's just gorgeous. It's so beautiful.
It is.
It's full of energy and spirit and love and joyfulness. And that's what it's called. Amor, fe, alegría. Love, faith, joy. That's the name of that painting, the mural. And it so represents a beautiful life. And you'll see our mom, in different stages of her life. And then there's pictures with our dad. There's a picture of father, and then there's a picture of our parents when they, I guess, when they were engaged. And it's just
it's
so
beautiful.
pretty. It's so beautiful. And it's a beautiful way to commemorate our mother who worked, like I said, so tirelessly and so sacrificially for us. I don't know that my mom ever thought that it was going to be what it was. And I'll never forget when I said, Mami, me invitaron a Nueva York. Voy a salir en el Today Show. Mami, they invited me to New York. I'm going to come out on the Today Show. And without missing a beat, she said, "Si Dios quiere, if God wills it, if he allows it to happen." She never let us take anything for granted. She started her sentences like that. And so it was like, you're absolutely right. That's right. I mean, I was thrilled and honored to represent the city of San Antonio, but, it was because something greater than me. It wasn't me. It was God's faith. That's what it was on our family. That's what it was.
And I remember that about your mother. Truly, because that was her thing. If something was going to happen or we're going to do something, it was always God willing, God
Yes,
willing. And it
God
wasn't
willing.
just a phrase she threw around. She meant it. I
Oh,
mean, you know
yes.
what I'm saying? It
Yes.
was with a lot of sincerity. I remember that
Yeah.
about your mom. And the wonderful food. So you described the type of food for those who've not been yet to Los Barrios. It really was just good home style Tex-Mex cooking, right?
A little bit of Tex-Mex and a little bit of Mexican because my mother was from Bustamante, Nuevo León, and grew up in Monterrey and in the surrounding little areas. And so she learned there are a lot of those recipes on our menu as well.
But some originals from Mexico. Now, the wonderful dish that you and I made together on the show some seasons ago was it had a funny names. Only part I can pronounce is swaswa. What was that?
It is called cortadillo Suasua style. And Suasua is one of those little towns surrounding Monterrey where her godparents had a ranch and she would go with them because my mother's mother, our mom's mom, our grandmother passed away when my mother was young. And so my mother spent a lot of time with her godparents. And she would go with them and she recreated that recipe from memory of going to their ranch and watching them how they cooked it and the ingredients that they used. And so basically it's like a like like tenderloin and it's cooked in its own juices and we seasoned it. The oregano is the key ingredient, but we added onions and tomato and we let it cook down at the very end. You add that oregano and it just oh my gosh, the aroma is so amazing. And so it is one of those dishes that it's on the menu at Los Barrios. After the pandemic, there are some, I'm not too sure if La Hacienda or Viola's Ventanas has it on their menu right now. We're changing things up right now. So, but come to Los Barrios and have it. Oh, it's so delicious.
Yeah, it's so good. We've actually got the recipe. I think you gave me the recipe the day we shot on goodtaste.tv. But it was so good. But one recipe I've never gotten from you and I've always begged for is your chimichurri sauce. I've had chimichurri in restaurants all over. And I always come back and think Los Barrios is my favorite.
You know what? It's really good. And we used to be able to keep it on the tables. We can't keep it on the tables anymore. But if you visit any of our restaurants, Los Barrios, La Hacienda de los Barrios, or Viola's Ventanas, please ask your server for chimichurri. It is so good. So it originally ended up on our menu to go along with the churrasco steak and the little meat empanadas that we have on the menu on that particular plate. So people would order that steak and they'd go, ooh, this chimichurri is good. And everybody else at the table would try it. And so the next time those people would come in, they'd say, oh, I want that green sauce. The waiter would say, oh, do you want the churrasco steak? No, I just want the green sauce. And that's how it became our signature sauce. And so have to ask for it, but we're happy to bring it out. And it's so delicious. It goes great on any.
I agree.
Great on any.
Just on a little tostada.
Chimichurri is so good. I mean, it really is. I have tried it lots of places too, and I'm happy when I try it because I do love it. And there are so many different varieties of chimichurri, but you know what? This is the
I love it. I compared over the years to lots of different places, and I always think, no, I still remember that Los Barrios loving that the best. What's the most popular dish? I don't think I've ever asked you this. What's the most popular dish on the menu? Is there one?
Oh my gosh. Yes and no. I mean, it just really depends on I don't know. I don't even know what it depends on, but I will tell you, our peppy tacos are insanely popular. Our Tex-Mex enchiladas are very, very, very popular. Our mole is very good, and lots of people come just to have our mole. Our milanesa con papas is something different, and it's a meal. It's a delicious meal. Our cortadillo, our shrimp enchiladas, I mean, see, I can't just tell
It's
you
a lot.
one. There's so many.
There's a lot. You got to keep coming back time and time again, or bring a big group and just have a variety. So I'm curious. You've got 3 restaurants now, right?
Yeah.
And are the boys interested in getting into the business? You mentioned Jordan
So
was the
yes,
idea behind the.
Jordan is our oldest is managing over at Los Barrios.
Ah,
And he's doing a great job, and he's, figuring it out. He's like, "Oh yeah, now I get it, Mom." I'm like, "Yeah, now you get it." It's a lot of work, but
you got to have good people skills.
yes, and he's learned so much. But he grew up going there. I mean, he was with us there all the time. Every weekend, our boys were there with
Yeah.
him, and then after school. But now that he's in you know a different position, not just the little boy hanging around eating and making a little bit of a mess sometimes with his brothers. Now he understands, and he totally gets it. And then I have a niece, my brother's daughter, Louis's daughter, Lindsay. She's the manager over at Violas Ventanas, the general manager over there. And his son, Ian, also works at Violas Ventanas as an assistant manager. I mean, honestly, they do
Slowly but
everything.
surely. Yeah.
You have to be a bartender, you're a bartender. You have to be a host, you have to be a host. You have to serve a table, you got to bus a table, you got to wash dishes, you got to go make tortillas. They have all figured it out. That's what they have to do. And it's important because, not only did they see our mom do it, of course, they saw their grandmother do it, but they were very little and may or may not have quite understood why she was doing it. They've seen all of us do it, and they get it. And then, especially during the pandemic when it was so hard to find help. I mean, we were all wearing so many different hats, and that was a very uh, an instrumental time for them to learn how to run a business, and that's what they did.
On every level, right? Well, I'm thrilled with your success. Is there anything new that you want to talk about that I haven't asked you about?
As a matter of fact, there is. So
Okay,
we're in the process of redoing our bar at La Hacienda de los Barrios over on Redland Road. And it's the indoor bar, and we're actually going to have a bar where you can sit around the bar, watch the TVs, order some
oh,
food,
nice.
have some great drinks, chat with the bartender, meet your friends for happy hour, or just come just come and have a meal at the bar whenever you like. So that's in the process of being finished up. And we have that going on at Los Barrios. And then Viola's, our beautiful Viola's Ventanas, named in honor and built in memory of our mother Viola, is out by SeaWorld and the Hyatt Hill Country and all those hotels out there. So it's
Oh,
so
that's
much
right.
fun to meet so many people from all over, all over the world, honestly, that come in through those doors. And it's fitting that it's at Viola's restaurant because it's, we try to do exactly what she did by welcoming these guests and introducing ourselves, introducing our food, letting them try our food. Some of them want to pick up. They don't know that when you have flautas, you can pick them up and eat them like that. They want to sit there and cut it. We're like, that's no. You please pick it up. That's the way you're
Yes,
supposed to.
fingers are good.
And they are blown away, and they're like, oh yeah, this is much easier, and it's really. I think it tastes even better. I'm like, yep, it sure does. Tacos, you can do that also. You can pick up your taco and eat it like that. Your chips, that's fine. So it's a place where we get to introduce Viola to the world. And that's really cool too, because they may not all be from San Antonio, although there's a lot of people from San Antonio and the surrounding areas that visit us at Viola's Ventanas. We get people from Castroville and Hondo and Bandera and Tartley and I mean from Pleasanton and from Floresville. They just all show up there and it's really fun. Plus the people that are staying at the hotels around us and people that are coming to SeaWorld. We have a giant outdoor patio. It's a 9,000 square foot outdoor patio with a beautiful
Matt,
children's play area, just like at La Hacienda on Redland. We have play areas in our patios because we're family restaurants and
yeah.
we love our little people. We love our little folks, and
It's
they're important too.
absolutely. They're all wonderful family restaurants. And one thing we didn't talk about that I did want to touch on a little bit, and that is the the amount of charitable giving, I guess, for lack of a better word. You guys are incredibly generous with the community. And I think,
like our mom.
yeah, you one in particular you guys are very supportive of is for foster kids who age out of the system.
Yes. So after our mom passed away, like the day after, we started Viola's Huge Heart Foundation. And, we started off by doing scholarships to girls with great need to attend high school. And we have shifted over. We still do that, but we've also shifted over to helping the youth that age out of the foster care system, because the statistics are horrible, 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 horrible for these people. And many of them end up I think it's like 60% that end up in the sex trafficking world. They end up in the drug world. The statistics are horrible. And what happens when a foster child gets to the age of 18? They are a foster youth. And that's when they age out of the system. And so at the age of 18, they're off to fend for themselves. But how? With what? Who's there to guide them, help them, give them some money to get them going? And
there aren't many options. Years ago, I did an event with James Leha, and it was an event with these foster teenagers, right? And in talking to them, that was a lot. There's a lot of fear associated with aging out, because it's then like, you ask them, what are you going to do? And so many, it was heartbreaking. So many don't know. And now, thanks to your family, there are options out there being funded and help, right?
So we work with Roy Moss. We work with the Through Project. We work with Adult Teen Challenge. We've worked with Boysville. We've worked there's so many other organizations that I can't list them all, but that we try and help. And that's through Viola's Huge Heart Foundation. For instance, at Christmas, we were able to gift these youth there was about 300 of them, approximately 300 youth, and they received either a $100 gift card to HEB, or to a store where they can use their gift to buy groceries, to buy clothing, to buy whatever it is they need to buy. They have that. And if it's a family, they got a $200 gift card. And, what they've told, my brother Louis talks with a bunch of them, and these youth have told him, when we were little, we got gifts from Aunt Louise and Blue Santa, but as we got older, there wasn't anything for us. And you know what? At the end of the day, we just want them to know that somebody's loving, somebody cares about them, and that's what we can do for them. And with the help of so many, it's not just my family, it's with the help of everybody that comes to our fundraisers, that buys a slice of special birthday cake that we sell during the month of July for our mother's birthday. All the proceeds of that all goes back to the foundation. And we do get some generous donors who send us checks, and it's so awesome when we can do that. Again, it takes a bunch of us. It's not just our family. We get the help of a lot of people, but that's what we have been able to do. And let me tell you, we have some people that we have come across on this path that we are on to help these foster youth that say they're very, very, very successful. And the president of one local bakery company, that's a big company, he said, I was a foster child. He said, so I'm going to help you out because I know what that's like. We have a local, he is a sports guy, one of our sports guys here in San Antonio, Vinny Vanzetta on Ken's. He was a former foster child, but he was adopted. And so he does a toy drive during the holidays. And, because he gets it, he knows what it feels like. And, we're not, my battery's running low, it says. We're not in those we're not in their footsteps. We don't know what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
And so what can we do to help? we have to do something.
That's one of many charitable things. Your battery's running low. That makes me think maybe before we lose you, I want to thank you so much for sharing today. Your story is always a beautiful story of success and the power of forgiveness and the good your family does. So cheers to you and a wonderful new year, and big hugs to Roland, Louie, and all your family for me. And that cute little Haley.
Okay. Yes, of course, Haley.
Haley.
Thank you for remembering Haley, who should work with you for a little bit. Well, cheers to you, Tangi, and thank you for creating such a beautiful thing with Good Taste with Tangi, and now this podcast. I wish you so much success, which I know it's going to follow you. It always does, because you do such a great job. And you know what? I forgot to say one more thing. We have a great cookbook. So, the Los Barrios Family Cookbook is something that you can't make it to San Antonio. Check it out.
It is wonderful. I'll put up a picture of that too. And by the way, I'm going to get you a new glass.
Okay. Yay. I'm so excited. Cheers.
Cheers, Deanna. Thank you. When I was trying to think about what thoughts I wanted to share with you all about Deanna's interview there, this book immediately came to mind. It's one of my very favorite Max Lucado books. And that's saying a lot, because he has a lot of fantastic books. This one touched me in so many ways. It speaks to the beautiful, almost unfathomable gift of grace that Christians receive through Christ's death. Total forgiveness, one and done, so to speak. Deanna's family showed such incredible grace in forgiving the young man who killed her mother. It's a reminder to me to show more grace to others for all kinds of things, something that's a lot easier said than done. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. When it comes to Mexican food restaurants in San Antonio, a few names come to mind. Los Barrios, La Hacienda de los Barrios, and Viola's Ventanas. All are family-owned and operated local restaurants. These restaurants have been featured on Good Morning America, The Today Show in New York, along with many other national and international programs. The Barrios family have been in the restaurant business for more than 50 years in San Antonio. Come join the fun and become part of the family. Get social with us. Follow us on Instagram at Goodtaste TV.